Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's second front load and another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, we're going to shoot through it quick, alright? I want my day full of doing nothing before I have to go on live, which is always short and sweet and go over way too fast. In the description box, you're going to find the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Yeah. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, as usual, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC sees through with their threat. Also included in there, the Ozarks' first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation, a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called trouble male teens that has impending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and it includes the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy chasing after drag queens and trying and failing to defund public libraries to actually do his job. And you got a governor off his nut. So please read that article. Share it on all your social media. And for the love of God, send the last few of us out here with logic and sense who live paycheck to paycheck some help. Alright, also included, folks, all the pertinent links to the Stop Shocks campaign, including the link to this particular interview of the four mothers here. Hoya's massive archive on the subject. Jennifer Masemba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses. A clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. The templates and the ever-present. Self-explanatory. Change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use those headphones, alright? Trigger warning, this channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this, parental supervision, folks, alright? What can I tell you? I curse. I was raised by a truck driver who's also an Army vet. Deal. Alright, so going to starting with the first story. This is Carla. Remember, it's a pseudonym. Carla is white and was 17 years old at the time of the interview. She began receiving special education services in preschool and attended school within her home district and a private Christian school up until the age of 15. What do we know of private Christian schools, folks? What have we learned from Agape? Excuse me if I'm not surprised that she ended up with behavioral issues after going through one of those hellholes. Prior to her placement at the facility, she attended a residential school for students with autism spectrum disorders in a nearby state to where her family resides. She attends the facility for 3 months until her parents removed her due to an incident wherein Carla was hurt during a restraint. So the idea after her being restrained is to send her to the king of restraints, that is Dr. Israel. Because that makes sense. Carla currently attends a residential school in another state. She has been prescribed numerous medications throughout her life. Oh, the horror. The devil big pharma, right? The devil big pharma. Again, using one of my uncles as an example and our dear friend Josie. Some people need their meds.
Woohoo, pills!
These people would not be able to function in their day-to-day lives without their meds. Meds aren't the enemy, folks. Big pharma on occasion is. But can we please start looking at medication with common sense instead of just openly buying, being gullible little idiots to the media and whatever they're selling? Okay? Be responsible with your meds. If your meds are messing you up, talk to your doctor. Your doctor doesn't want to listen, you're an adult, go get a new doctor.
And always remember, soma rhymes with coma.
Please, we all know Sarah needs her meds, alright? Carla's parents are married and are strong advocates for her. Carla data from the facility, daily charts of the number of electric skin shocks were available for Keith and Heidi. No data were available from either past school settings or the facility for Andrew. The semi-structured interview protocol was designed to elicit the mother's perceptions of their child's behavioral history at prior schools. How these schools handle the problem behaviors, can I stop them there and say they don't? Here's what happens in public schools. This is modern, mind you. This wasn't exactly what they did with us back in my day. They send you into an isolation room, leave you there, and forget that you're there for hours on end. I know this because other people within the community who are the younger generation has told me this. It's also been documented by schools and what have you who believe that they should get special funding to make these rooms. Yeah. Let's move on, shall we? They don't deal with the behaviors. They just simply put us away in another room and pretend we don't exist. Crazy how that doesn't just magically make us neurotypical, right? Behavioral assessments, degree of parental participation in IEP and program planning, circumstances under which their child left each school, their child's behavior and supports at home before residential placement. By the way, if anything makes us insane, it's the absolute focus on nothing but our behaviors. This is one of the biggest problems that's still a problem in modern treatment of neurodivergent diagnoses to this day. To this day, the absolute hyper-focus, what we get demonized over, on nothing but our behaviors. Okay? Imagine this. That you have a microscope put on every little tick and weird thing that you do, and then have it recorded, and to follow you around to every single doctor, appointment, psychologist, counselor, psychiatrist, and have it brought up ad nauseum for the rest of your life. And then you wonder, well, Tiffany, why are you having more behaviors after doctor's visits? Gee, I wonder. Could it be that maybe I would like to be viewed as something more than that whole grouping of my behaviors starting circa since I was 12? Just saying. How referral to the facility came about and the program at the facility. We provided opportunities to these mothers to tell their stories in ways that was meaningful to them through detailed examples of rich narratives. Now, I want to bring something up, and this is something that everyone and their mother has done. You notice here, and I'm sorry, Dr. Freda, but I'm going to criticize you. It's, again, the story of the mothers, the story of the parents, it's the story of the siblings. It's my story. It's not my mom's story. It's not my dad's story. It's not my stepmom or my stepdad's story. It's mine. The biggest problem that we still have with the medical model is the fact that we're still talked over and not talked to. Doctors need to start realizing that we have a right to have a say in our own medical treatment, that our opinions and what we observe within ourselves is actually extremely pertinent to any treatment program that one is trying to implement. We've got to stop with the crap where we put parents, guardians, or whatever, we're putting their importance above that of the individual who's receiving the treatment or going through the program. Okay? One of the major reasons why my program worked and is still working is my mom's absolute insistence that I be included and shushing others when it was time for me to talk. I would suggest you try this, parents. Don't let these doctors just look to you for all the answers or only allow them to respond to you. When your kid is of age, I'm talking about circa 16, 17 years old, begin to start slowly involving them with their own treatment and with their programs and interventions. And make sure that when it's pertinent to your kid and not you, that if you need to, you will shush that doctor or professional so that your kid would be able to answer the question. Because it's not my parents' story. It's not my step-parents' story. It's not my family's story. It's my story. It's your kid's story. Okay? We got to stop this. This is something that I've been on since mid-2000s. We got to stop making everything about the parents and the family. That's the problem. Okay? Now, are families and siblings, are they a part of the story? Yes, but at the end of the day, who has the diagnosis? Just saying. Interview questions sought either yes or no responses. Did you participate in developing behavior plans in that school? Or were open-ended? What problem behaviors did he or she exhibit at that school? Again, with the hyper-focus on the behaviors. The authors independently read the transcripts and notes themes across mother's stories. The authors then discussed common themes across the mother's stories, discussed any discrepancies, and reached consensus. Once themes were established, the authors again went through the transcripts and notes, organized into the data into themes. Okay, we're going to stop right there, but you're kind of hearing me here while I'm going through their introduction. There's still a lot of things that need to be sorted out in modern medical model treatment programs when it comes to neurodivergent kids. Because the hyper-focus is still on trying to make our behaviors cease instead of focusing on an all-around picture. Although person-centered planning got streamlined, not just in my state, but nationwide circa mid-2000s, it's still not as widespread as it should be, particularly when we're talking about rural areas. And when we read anything at all, even from very well-educated and well-intentioned individuals, it's still more focused on the family and every single somebody else that are so-called affected by the behavior, and not focused on the person who has the actual disability. It's the mother's story, it's the father's story, it's the brother, it's the sisters, it's the aunts, the uncles, the guardians, the caregivers. When it's our stories. These are our lives. This is why person-centered planning needs to be more well known than what it is, because it centers the individual with the disability. Because these programs are about our future, not that of our families. We're going to close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you again in a few minutes. Bye-bye, everyone.